Hello DevOps friends, welcome to Full Stack Live. I'm Jochen, the Monospace Mentor. Welcome to my stream, and today is our Streamaversary. This day, 6 years ago, I became a Twitch affiliate, and that's a long time ago. I've been doing this thing for quite a while, I guess. And mind you, that was only when I got affiliate status, which means that I had been streaming before that date. So, yeah, live coding apparently applies for life. Welcome everyone, happy to have you all here. Thanks Balthazar, I hope you're having a great Tuesday. Today I have the same plans as last week because, yeah, it takes a bit to get my stuff done. So the first plan for today is to finish and get into production the MySQL monitoring that I've been building for quite a while now. And I hope that'll only take part of the stream, and we'll get to doing a little bit Ansible as well. The MySQL part will be done using Chef, and then we'll switch configuration, management software, and try some Ansible for a change. And of course, lots of great conversations to be had as well. Let's not make this a 3-hour monologue on my side. Even though I have a little bit of coffee and some water here, please don't let me hanging, and pop into chat if you have any questions, if there's anything that you'd like to share. For example, I'm always curious if, for example, you've encountered some kind of open source software that makes you excited, if there's something new in your life tech-wise. All these things are great if you share them in chat. And of course, it's perfectly fine if you prefer to lurk as well. So, I just realized when I switched over that my back cam doesn't work. Let me take a look at that quickly, if I can fix this on stream. Let me guess, where's the scene for that? Desk cam. Yeah, that's only black. Why is it black? It does have the Brio, but it's black. Might not be able to fix that. On stream. But if it doesn't work, it wouldn't hurt to plug it back in either, I would say. Famous last words, I know. But let me give this a try, and yeah, I'll feel a little bit better knowing that my full streaming setup is actually working. So let me see. Okay, logged back in. No change though. Yeah, I might have to restart OBS to get this going, which would of course break the stream, so we'll have to live without the back cam for the time being. No problem, it's not essential. Maybe the camera itself is broken, I have no idea. Alright, so let me see if there's anything new. Yes, there is. I did submit a new newsletter on Monday morning. So far, it's issue number 3 of News from the Server Room, my newsletter, that I only did send occasionally before, but for the last 3 weeks, I managed to send them out in time on Monday morning, which I am a little bit proud of. Because content management definitely, content generation is not definite, yeah, content marketing in terms of doing a lot of writing hasn't been my forte so far. So I have to find my way into that gradually. And yeah, being able to send out 3 issues on time without any interruptions is already a little win for myself. That makes me a little bit more optimistic that I'll be able to do that on a regular basis. I have some vacations coming up over Easter as well, and so I might be able to actually build up a little bit of a backlog even. So if I have to miss writing a newsletter for some reason, maybe I'll get sick or something, then there will be 1 or 2 more lined up that go out automatically, so I can bridge these unplanned breaks. We'll see about that. And of course, I'd also top that by adding more blog posts as well. The blog on monospacementor.com has been languishing a little bit. So I am aiming at getting some more writing done. It's all a matter of time management, which actually is mentioned on the newsletter. And that's why I'm going to share it with you in a minute. And yes, Balthazar, you're perfectly right. Content in the can is always great. Definitely. And it's all a matter of practice. Practice and time management. It's always the same, even though writing is definitely a different skill than, say, coding or administering Linux machines. It's something that can be learned and can be trained, and you can get more efficient and effective doing that. So yeah, definitely something that I'm aiming at. Delomon, welcome to the stack. Good to have you, mate. All right, so yeah, why not start with the newsletter actually? So while I'm waiting for my coffee to cool down, we can actually take a look at the latest issue of the newsletter. If you go to monospacementor.com and click on news, you can choose the newsletter section, and there is a list of recent issues. The most recent one hasn't been added yet. Maybe I did something wrong here? Or maybe it's just a caching issue? Let's see. No. So I'll have to get that on screen myself. No idea. I'll have to investigate why it doesn't yet appear here. Maybe there's some kind of a delay. But if you want to get it right to your inbox on Monday morning, feel free to subscribe. There are more than 100 people already subscribed to the newsletter, and I'm always happy when people join with another subscription. Okay, so let me check if I can actually get the newsletter on screen myself. Why do I have... Oh, yeah, I know why I have to log in. That's the Stream browser. No worries. There we go. Let me get that on here. So, my newsletter always starts off with the mentor monologue, which is basically a column where I tackle a topic that has come across my radar recently. And this time, it's actually the question, what do I have to know to be successful as a junior engineer? And I thought, well, let's answer that question because it comes up on this stream a lot, especially during my office hours. And so I sat down and outlined my 5 skills junior engineers need. The first skill any engineer needs is problem solving. As a software engineer, your job is to turn ideas into code. And if you are a system administrator, you get paid to keep software running despite constant changes and entropy in general. Learning how to detect and analyze issues with your software and systems will be part of your day-to-day for most of your career. Once you've noticed that something's not working right, the next step is going to be to identify the root cause. Only then can you go on to design and implement an effective solution. So cultivate your problem-solving skills to tackle system changes with confidence. The next one is going to be something that I've talked about a lot recently. On a recent office hour live stream, I was asked, what core skill would you advise new dev or ops learners to pick up, which could have an impact for their entire career? And I was able to immediately respond with note-taking. I wish I had learned about personal knowledge management and note-taking decades ago, ideally when I was at college. I wish I would still have forgotten shelves worth of knowledge over the decades, but it would not have been lost. I would still be able to retrieve it whenever I need it, and that's what I'm enjoying now, that I have a growing knowledge base of notes where I write down everything that seems valuable somehow, because storing that knowledge doesn't really cost anything, and being able to retrieve it again is, well, maybe not invaluable, but it saves a lot of time. Effective note-taking can make your long-term growth so much easier. This applies even more in a team setting. Keeping organized and detailed documentation of configurations, troubleshooting steps and solutions is essential if we want all the information to be easily available to current and future team members. So build a second brain from which you and your team can retrieve all important knowledge. Mukushem! What did they do to you? Who did hurt you? Somehow did hurt you, didn't they? Kankajiro, hello! Welcome to the stack. Let's go on to the next one. And that is one that I've already recommended a lot during my office hours. Our industry is evolving constantly and rapidly, which is why the ability to self-learn and adapt to new technologies is vital. In my experience, it's also great fun. I'm deeply grateful that I can expand my skills and knowledge all the time. I consider curiosity one of the most crucial character traits of a great engineer. Stay curious, explore new topics, and leverage online resources, maybe including my courses, to expand your knowledge continually. So, number 4. If decades of work experience have taught me one thing, it's that there is one resource of which we will never have enough: time. There's always more stuff to do, but we all have only 24 hours in our day. That's why time management is another key skill for junior engineers to acquire. Your success depends on your ability to focus deeply on a task, despite having to juggle many at the same time. We all have to do multitasking, but being able to focus on one particular task and get it done properly is definitely something that we need to learn. But mastering time management also includes making sure you get to take time off to recharge your physical and mental batteries. So start early with cultivating a way to manage your time that allows you to effectively handle your responsibilities for both your work and yourself. And the final skill that I think junior engineers should acquire early on is communication skills. Regardless if you're a software engineer, system administrator, or SRE, there won't be a week in your whole career where your work will not require you to communicate. This communication will take many forms: posting to Stack Overflow, asking questions in team chat, or notifying customers of an incident are just a few examples of situations in which your success will depend on your communication skills. Develop your communication skills to share knowledge, ask for help, and work effectively in a team. These are the 5 skills junior engineers need the most, in my experience: problem solving, note-taking, curiosity, time management, and communication skills. And hey, if you can think of more, let me know. Post them to chat. Hey, Bob Zero, Jazz Boss, welcome to the stack. So, that's one update. You can subscribe to my newsletter simply by going to... Oof, this is unreasonably large. Why is it that way? Well, anyway, go to the news and choose newsletter, and then you'll do that. Kagajira says the ability to Google search and research. Yep, that's definitely one skill that would make the list if I had allowed myself to choose more than 5. That's the general research and analytics skills, I'd say. Knowing what to search for is sometimes not really easy. And so, yeah, definitely a good addition to the list too. Hey, Moolol. How you doing? Welcome to the stack. Thanks for helping out, Bombard Zero. Yeah, it's actually it is surprising, and I think my office hours definitely have helped me combat the curse of knowledge in that regard. Curse of knowledge meaning these are things that seem obvious once you are in the industry for longer, and it's really hard to think of them as essential because they have become ingrained, muscle memory, automatic, and being the office hour has helped me get a better feeling for what people who are only now entering the industry are struggling with, and I'm very grateful for that, actually, and I've decided to really do my best to help especially these people get a foothold in IT, in engineering, and make their life a little bit easier, I guess, than it sometimes is, depending on where they work and what kind of education they might have. That is that, and I'd say let's get on to the regularly scheduled program, which is going to be a little bit more of Prometheus system automation. I'm still working on MySQL monitoring with Prometheus. If you haven't been on lately, I'm part of a team together, for example, with Moolol, that runs a managed hosting platform. And this hosting platform has been running for almost 14 years now. And the monitoring systems we used over time have changed. Most of them have stuck around, actually. So we still have a little bit of Nagios running. We have a lot of monitoring checks done by Sensu. But we are aiming at replacing all the legacy systems with Prometheus. And so I've been working on different aspects of Prometheus monitoring in the last few months, actually. And we are making progress, but it all takes a little bit of time, especially in terms of adapting everything to our actual hosting setup. Just a second. Bethesda says, oh wow, Sensu, that's a name I have not heard in a while. Sensu didn't get that much of a foothold in the industry, I think. But it was definitely a great step forward in terms compared to even more legacy systems like Nagios. For example, the whole approach using a message bus to communicate between all the agents and the Sensu server was definitely great for scalability and made configuring everything quite a bit easier. Unfortunately, they decided to go the commercial route, and I guess that signed the deal, or that spelled their eventual death. Well, not death, it's probably still around, but yeah, it definitely didn't go into the cloud native space. Bomboy Zero asks, is Nagios worth replacing yet, in your opinion? I'd answer with the old adage of never change a winning team. If Nagios works for you, keep it. There's no need to just chase the latest hype or just do cloud native for cloud native's sake. I mean, Prometheus does have its advantages, but hey, it's the same with the stuff when we talk about Kubernetes and all these things. It might be, for some, it might be the only choice at the scale they have and with the requirements they have. But for many others, it's going to be total overkill and more of a pain than a boon. And that applies here as well. So if it works for you, I don't see any reason to change. And if you have only a few slight complaints about it, maybe look into Isinga, which is I think it started off as a fork of Nagios, or maybe they consider themselves still a fork, and it's a very lively community, and since it's based on the original Nagios, it should be quite the in-place replacement as well. Kankajira asks, what do you do? Are you a DevOps engineer or full stack engineer? Maybe another thing. So my job title is CTO. I am a veteran system administrator. Nowadays, I would probably label my role as an SRE, a site reliability engineer. I still do engineering, apart from the business side of things. And since we are running a managed hosting platform that especially is designed for high performance and high availability, the term site reliability engineer seems apt, I think. But I also do a little bit of web development. For example, I've built the customer dashboard that our customers are using for the hosting platform. So yeah, full stack is not only a part of my channel title, it's definitely something that applies to me as well. But hey, what's in a name, I guess. Balthasar says, I'd say that Nagios is fine, but Prometheus, despite being cloud-native monitoring, is kind of the new Nagios because it doesn't really care what you write your exporter in, so long as you adhere to the API, which is very evocative of Nagios' vibe. That's actually a good perception, Balthasar. Yeah, one of the nice things about Nagios has always been that you could write your checks in whatever you like, shell script or Python, Perl, whatever, and simply return a critical or a success. And that was enough for Nagios to do its thing. And since the scraping mechanism of Prometheus is very similar to how Nagios does its NRPE, the comparison is actually pretty legit, I think. So far, I'm not deep enough into Prometheus that I would go out and write my own exporters quite yet, but yeah, it's definitely possible. As long as your exporter exposes metrics via HTTP, that's basically it. So yeah, I haven't seen it from that angle yet, but you're perfectly right. Keep the questions coming if you like. I'll switch over to doing a little bit of coding. For that, I actually have to find out what needs to be done and if there is already a issue that I can work on. Let me do that on the side quickly. There isn't actually. Okay. So we need to do a little bit of housekeeping there. There is, but they're not linked actually. Okay, interesting. So here we have a few GitLab issues. I created this umbrella issue here where I've listed all the legacy checks that are still running in some legacy system like Nagios and Sensu. And I actually did add a few issue numbers to these items, but not all of them. So let me see. The MySQL basic health check is actually issue number 77. And MySQL replication status might actually not have an issue here, right? Is there any other MySQL issue? I think it's, from my experience, it's so easy to lose yourself in the day-to-day, and especially if you have to take a break from a specific topic, I find it sometimes terribly hard to find back into, so where was I and what was I going to do and what did I actually have done, got done, and where do I pick up? So that's why I'm spending a little bit of time creating these issues and basically to track my progress on this more wide-ranging task of replace everything with Prometheus. Maybe that's an age thing, but I find it helpful. And it also creates a lot of transparency with the team. So transparency being one of our core values at our business, that's definitely another important side effect. Yeah, it's more like leaving myself breadcrumbs so I don't get lost in the forest that I fail to actually see for the trees. So there is only, well, there is another MySQL issue, but that's an upgrade issue. So I create a new issue. We have the basic health check, and then we need to get the replication status as well. So we'll call that implement MySQL replication monitoring, monitor MySQL replication using Prometheus. That's pretty obvious, but empty descriptions are so ugly, so let's keep it that way. The epic is going to be new monitoring solution. Labels are... I'll leave the labels off because this is more of an organizational issue. So I'll create that. That'll give me another issue number 78, which I can now reference here. Let's save these changes, and now I do know what I need to do. So maybe we can actually close that and move that here, remove that. Okay. So it's basically these two issues that tell me what to do. And I can use these issues to actually reference where the work happens, which is our Chef Cookbooks repository. So I'll create a new GitLab tab here, search cookbooks. Let's go to the Chef Cookbooks repository. The issues, MySQL, and here we have a few. This one is the important one, so I'll take this and make this actually a blocking item for the general MySQL health check. Is blocked by this one. I guess the other one as well, 78. Let's go there. Add that here as well. So now we're starting to see the relationships between the planning issues that are in our shared infra repository and the actual implementation issues that are in the Chef Cookbooks repository, where I will do my coding work as well. So, and there was another one. Web listen address not configured for MySQL exporter. That should not be open anymore. I seem to have failed to reference that in a change that I did want to do, or do I only hallucinate that I actually managed to do that? Let's see. Let's see. So we are in branch 902, DB Prometheus. That's not 904, actually. Let's take a look at 902. I consider that done. No, it's also still open. That shouldn't actually live in here in the first place. Because deployment to database servers is not... Oh yes, okay, yeah. It encompasses the necessary changes to our cookbooks as well. Okay, that's going to be the next step. So, what is 904 actually? There is no 904 branch anymore. And on GitLab there's also not a 904 branch. Maybe my memory is confusing me. Let's take a look at Prometheus X, which is the cookbook that sets up everything that's foundational around Prometheus. And here I say in Prometheus X, MySQL de-exporter, we are relying on the default setting. Well, I did not fix that. Okay, so that's then going to be our next step. Let me grab that. And let's go back to 77. Add another blocking issue here. All right, so thing is, this is how we are starting the MySQL de-exporter. We pass in a configuration file for the credentials that the exporter will need to get access to MySQL, but we do not pass in a listen address that would allow us to make the MySQL de-exporter listen only to localhost, which we need to do for security purposes. By default, the MySQL de-exporter binds itself to the 0 IP address, namely all interfaces, including, of course, the public ones. And so everyone would be able to query metrics from our MySQL servers. That's not a security issue in and of itself, but it's definitely not great. So let's actually fix that and make sure the MySQL de-exporter, as it is, only binds itself to localhost. In order to fix this issue,
the bombers, get the subs in launch mode. We are at DEFCON 1. DEFCON 1.
Adrian Learns raiding us. Hello, everyone. Triggering a hype train even. Adrian, welcome to the stack. Thanks for the raid. How is everyone? Viewers, use the defend command, and raiders, use the attack command, and let's see if you can breach our defenses. So Adrian, how has your stream been? I hope you had a great time. What did you do? Let me defend my own channel. Welcome everyone, this is Full Stack Live. I'm Jochen, the Monospace Mentor. I do full stack stuff here. Sometimes I do a little bit of web development, but most of my stuff is infrastructure code. I'm part of a team running a managed hosting platform with hundreds of Linux servers. And with our small, tiny team, we can't, of course, administer those servers manually. So everything needs to be automated, i.e. put into code. And that's exactly what I'm doing here.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
9x11, welcome to the stack. Happy to have you here. Wouldn't be 99 more efficient? Yes, push toy.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
40 years. I'll have to assume that your hair color is becoming more and more similar to mine. Oh, okay, definitely. I'm only 54. All right, folks, so let me get back to my code, where I was just about to start doing a new fix. For that, I'll have to change branches. Let me check that I'm actually where I need to be. That's setup MySQL exporter 902. That branch should actually be done. Let's see. Well, yeah, push toy, of course. No one's safe from graying, regardless of the age. And hey, it's nothing to worry about. Okay, 902 is still open. That's deployed. What? I'm confused. Oh, I know. 902 is already the next step. I started that next step, getting everything deployed to our database servers. That's why I started the branch 902, and only later I realized, oh, maybe we should have some safety feature first, because we are exposing our monitoring to the world, and that should not happen. So we have to postpone 902 for the time being, and take care of 904 first. So in order to help my small little brain to actually grasp that, we say this is blocked by 904. It's not 904, is it? No, I'm utterly confusing myself. Okay, that's 902. We have to add 904 as a blocking issue. Oh, when the housekeeping takes more time than the coding itself. That's a little bit annoying. But still, I think we're ready now. All right, so we have caught up with our master branch, which we have to switch to the main name soon. But for the time being, I will keep it as it is. Let's create a new branch, 904, MySQLD, export IF for interface. The main information here is 904, because that then points us to this issue, and we have a nice description here, so the branch name itself doesn't have to be that explanatory. And that means we are ready to go. So, let's see. This is not my day today. This is not my day. Now that I've merged the master branch The listen address is there. I did remember to actually code this, so I wasn't mistaken. I was already really doubting my own memory and thought, wait, did I dream this? Did I implement this in my dreams instead of on stream? Well, I did not. Okay, so that means 904 is actually done without having been referenced. Yeah, maybe I just forgot to add it to a commit message or something. That is really, really odd. Usually I'm better in organizing my own work. But hey, we all have better and worse days. So, now I need to find out what happened. Just to get back some sense of sanity here. So, let me see. Actually, I should be able to see that on the terminal as well. So, since we're still working on Prometheus 6, let's change in here. And let's grab a git log of the MySQL de-exporter recipe. So there was commit 7e99 where I configured the listen address, and I guess I failed to do this in its own branch. That's this. Yeah, that is in merge request 838. Viewers, does that ever happen to you? Please say yes. Where you get utterly confused what you did 4 days ago. Maybe that's old age creeping in. I'm getting senile. It's so good to know that I can count on you, Balthazar. There was a branch 904, but strangely enough, for some reason that didn't get related to issue 904, which oh, I know what happened. I know what happened. Yep. Okay. I now know exactly why I'm getting so confused. Now I know why I'm getting so confused. Yeah, Balthazar, you might find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife and asking yourself, well, how did I get here? That's exactly what happens to me every day. All right, so yeah, I know what happened. Thing is, if you use a purely GitLab-based workflow and you create a branch, say 904 MySQL exporter address, and then you submit a merge request by pushing your branch and following the link that GitLab will give you in your push success message, basically, then the merge request will already have closes 904 in its description. And once you merge the merge request, the branch gets closed. And I deviated from that workflow by creating my own GitLab merge request using the glab command from the command line. And that apparently, I don't quite remember, but I don't have a photographic memory. So I have to assume that this way, the merge request doesn't actually get associated with the issue number that is in the branch name. And therefore, the issue didn't get closed automatically. I would have had to manually include closes 904 either in my commit message or at least adding it to the merge request description before it got merged. I did neither of that, and that's why 904 stayed open, and I was doubting what actually happened 4 days ago, which was last Thursday, I guess, or yeah, it must have been. Okay, so I confused myself by deviating from a workflow that I had been practicing for years. And okay, no wonder. That means that we can actually go back to master. We can actually delete 904. We can actually close this issue. Closed by, and that was 7E99C64, comment and close issue. Bada bing. That means 902 is not blocked anymore, and I can actually go ahead and deploy the MySQL exporter to our actual database servers. Let's write the infrastructure code for that. We already have that branch, right? So let's go to 902 DB Prometheus. Let's make sure we are up to date here. Let's update the branch on the other side as well. No merge request quite yet, but soon. But we'll have to change directories because the Prometheus X cookbook is the most basic cookbook that takes care of setting up Prometheus itself. It's very generic, and I intend to open source that actually. Then we have another Prometheus cookbook that builds on top of Prometheus X. It does the Prometheus setup that is necessary for our infrastructure. For example, we choose to run all the exporters behind an Nginx proxy that limits access to the exporters to our own Prometheus servers only. Tatsu95. Welcome, thanks for the follow. And what we need to do now is to use that cookbook, which is called Prometheus Freestyle, which is the name of our business, and integrate that with MySQL Freestyle, which is the database cookbook that we use. That means I'll close all files in my editor, and then we'll go to MySQL Freestyle. And here we have the recipes that deal with our databases. In a similar sense, like the Prometheus X cookbook and our own individual, let's call it application cookbook, it's the same here. The MySQL Freestyle cookbook uses the MySQL X cookbook as its base cookbook for setting up MySQL in general, and then it adds all the stuff that a more generic cookbook would not be able to. For example, it sets up replication information, it sets up backup, it sets up a firewall, installs additional tools and stuff like that. you don't want to have a single cookbook take care of all of these things because you can't simply meet all demands with a single cookbook. So it's a better idea to have a generic cookbook that could apply to anyone, and then you use that within a cookbook or from a cookbook that does your own specific individual stuff. It's a separation of concerns that way, I would say. Now, let's see. As you can see, there is already a monitoring recipe and a net data recipe as well, which also plays into the same aspect of things. We want to have some monitoring in place, and the monitoring cookbook, for example, does create a database user called monitoring with a specific password, and that allows all of our monitoring systems to access the database and to access all the system parameters that a monitoring system needs to know about. So the grants are pretty extensive here. The monitoring system will have usage, process, replication client permissions. We should review if we actually need super permissions as well, because that is the most the highest level of access we can grant to a database. We should actually revisit that and decide if super is actually necessary. I am not 100% sure that's actually necessary, but we'll take care of that at another time. Which means that I'm going to make another note. I will not remember this in a week's time, let alone in 6 months' time. So I'll create a new issue, a review if monitoring requires super permissions. Let's be specific. We're talking about MySQL monitoring. And I'll assign the security label here. Everything else I'll leave blank. The MySQL Freestyle cookbook assigns, among others, the super permission to the monitoring user. We need to check if that's actually necessary. Always reduce permissions to a minimum. What I can also assign is the MySQL Freestyle cookbook name. So we have the necessary context here. But that's out of scope for my current change, so let's continue with what we're doing. So one thing that we need to do is add the Prometheus Freestyle cookbook to our dependencies. It's not in there yet. So this is going to be a new feature. And that means I can also go ahead and bump the cookbook version for MySQL Freestyle by a minor version. So now we are at version 930. Let's add a changelog entry for that as well. So what we want to do here is monitor databases with Prometheus. And that's possible because we add another dependency here. Prometheus FrySteel 2.0 Copilot. Are you sure about that? I wouldn't be surprised if that's correct, but wait, wrong file. No, we are only version 0.8 here. So that's going to be our version as well. And by using this pessimistic version constraint, that means basically all cookbook versions that start with 0. All minor versions of 0. If there are 0.8, 0.9, 0.10, 0.15, they'll all be used if possible. 1E too many. And that makes sure that we don't pull in breaking changes without intending to. So that's that. Now, I'm inclined to already try and run a test instance for this change. As you can see, we have 4 different test suites here, a server test suite and a client test suite, and they both run twice for Ubuntu 16 and 20, which are the versions that we need to support for legacy reasons. And I'm going to spin up a test instance for server Ubuntu 20. Let me simply grab that and run test kitchen converge for this test suite, which means test kitchen, our test framework, will spin up a VM using Vagrant, install Chef, install our cookbooks, and run everything that's necessary. That will not do anything because all I've done so far is pull in the dependency of the Prometheus FrySteel cookbook, but I don't use the Prometheus FrySteel cookbook yet, and that means there shouldn't be any difference to the previous version of the cookbook yet. However, there is a problem. We want to pull in Prometheus FrySteel 0.8, and that's not available. What do you mean? Yeah, of course, because it's not a dash, it's an underscore. Still not possible? What am I doing wrong? It's Prometheus FrySteel. Hasn't this been released yet? We don't have any merge requests outstanding, so... What is this chaos? Well, let's see. Knife, cookbook, show, Prometheus underscore FrySteel. There is no 0.8. That's the wrong directory. Set up MySQL exporter. "12 minutes ago? At the moment, I feel like I should have picked up gardening or my current profession a long time ago? I'm really confused now. But we can do it. It's like dealing with an unknown code base, even if it's my own. Something must have gone very wrong recently. Okay, so let me see. If I go to... Prometheus Fry still. Current version is 071. Changelog hasn't been changed in a while. That's fine, because if in the context of the MySQL D exporter, we don't have to do anything very specific. That doesn't need to be a change, but I do know that there has to be a change, and we can fetch that from the changelog. We needed to facilitate the installation of the MySQL exporter, which includes setting up another Nginx proxy that actually secures access to the MySQL D exporter as well. Yeah, Moo, that's definitely true. Yeah, something must have gone wrong with actually releasing this cookbook. Maybe that was the cause of all the confusion, that I actually failed to submit a merge request. And so it never got deployed to our chef server. And that's the missing link that I'm always tripping over. Well, I'm tripping over the hole that this link is leaving. Yeah, exactly, Moo. That's definitely the case. I might actually have failed to submit a merge request. Maybe I planned to do that after the stream because it was already 5 o'clock or something. And that way things went awry. Now, let me see. How do we fix this? We have to do a little bit of forensic version control. Let's focus on this one now. So there is this commit 2529. Why does it say 12 minutes ago, though? I didn't commit this 12 minutes ago, did I? No. That's completely wrong. My git log seems to be off as well. Oh, no, that's 12 minutes ago because that was when I pulled in these changes. Okay. I can see what happened. Yep. I did delete the 904 branch, didn't I? Is that still available here? No. Oh, what am I doing? I want to open the issues. We want to see 9, 2. I'm not sure what ended up on GitLab and what is still only locally on my machine. Wait a second. Wait a second. So this change is available in this branch. Is it available in master? Yes, it is. So it has been merged? Without the version being bumped? Thanks for that, Moo. Let me see. Merge requests, merged. 838. Oh, I think that's what happened. I did bump the wrong version. I probably was in the wrong directory, and I changed the version for Prometheus X. But that is Prometheus X. Wait, what? That is not the change that I was looking for. Nope, that's not it. It says configure listen address for MySQL D exporter. Oh, wait. there's another missing link. So here we define the web listen address and everything. Yeah, okay, that's fine. And that was the foundation. For using the MySQL D exporter that was now bound to localhost only in our Prometheus Freestyle cookbook. And there's only a node exporter and a Prometheus.rb. Ah, yes. And if I switch to 902 again, there is the MySQL D exporter recipe. That's been lost. And that's hopefully not on master yet, because there was no official way to get it released. And I hope that it didn't get released, because that would even increase my confusion. So let's see, Prometheus Freestyle only has the node exporter and Prometheus recipes. Okay. Okay. This is really forensic version control here. I did botch this pretty good. Hey Mahendra, how you doing? Welcome to the stack. I was intending to continue my work on building the infrastructure code that will roll out Prometheus monitoring to all the database servers my business is running. But so far, and that's 1.5 hours into this stream, I'm still trying to figure out Git history, because stuff got lost, or at least it's ended up in places where it shouldn't have. And I'm trying to, first of all, make sense of everything and then hopefully repair it, so I can actually get a clean starting point for what I was intending to do today on the stream. Okay, so this... So we have this proxy setup. That's all great. It's the MySQL D exporter set of attributes. So that has already been done. And it's 080. You know what? I think I simply confused the branches and therefore the issue numbers. I think that's it. Mahendra, if you want to connect with me, you have my contact form on monospacementor.com. Balthazar, it's good to be wary. If they are, they are definitely taking a completely different tack now. Mahendra, are you legit? Are you legit, or are you another troll? No, I don't have any Instagram. And please don't force me to ban you by spamming or something. Okay, I think that's actually the best explanation. 902 should have actually been 904. Now, I did make a mistake by closing 904. Because this commit did not actually solve this issue. Oh yes, this is fixed actually. Yeah, okay, fair enough. There's another issue missing, isn't there? Web listen address not configured. Yeah, that's 904. Let's go back to the issues. There's another umbrella issue here. That has secure MySQL exporter with a proxy. That's 903. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. That is still open. Okay. Now, let me see. Yeah, here we have this latest commit feature, Prometheus Freestyle, set up MySQL exporter in, well, set up proxy for MySQL exporter would be the better description here. And, yeah, okay, so what we are going to do, and other than that, it's based on the previous version 0.7.1. That is grand. So what I'm going to do is I'll create a new branch from here, 903 MySQLD exporter proxy. Oof, now the confusion starts to lift. Mahendra, I'll send you my consulting rates. So 903, that's not. Let's start at €2,000 a day. 903. There's another work in progress change, so let's review what we have here. Let's do a git rebase on the master branch. Yeah, okay. I guess I'd like to see what happened here. Let's do a git show of that. Web commit. Yeah, that does look good. Yep. Yep. And what did we do in this commit then? That has the proper That's just the housekeeping with version bump and stuff, I guess. And fixed port number. Yeah, that's pretty much the fix for everything. And do we have a test? Not really. Do I want to test? Yeah, I guess similar to, say, the black box exporter. What this cookbook should test is the we did write tests for the client, yeah, for the client side. Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, I still remember that. Okay. I think we're good to go to release this. Let's clean stuff up and then... So let me go here, Prometheus, FreeStyle. So I only have 3 Tmux windows open, minimizing the stuff that gets to confuse me. Seems to be a good idea today. No changes, but let's rebase everything to a proper commit. So we'll make this a reword. Wait. Let's make this a reword and this a fix-up and even this a fix-up. And now we can say feature Prometheus FreeStyle. Set up proxy for MySQL exporter. Let's push this. I'm going to run tests just to be sure before I actually create a merge request. And while the tests are running, I'm going to actually visualize what this latest commit... Mahendra, we'll deal with this offline, okay? Since you've sent me a request, I'll be in touch. I'm not going to do this during the stream now. So... if I do this... no, that's not going to work. I need a new terminal in here. That's time I get acquainted with my Git aliases. Maybe even head and only for here? Does this work? So here we have this single commit now. That should have more files than those 3 though. And that's MySQL FreeStyle? What's oh, I mean... see? That's what I mean. This is so confusing. I'm still in the wrong directory. Let's start fresh. Source Prometheus feisty. Oh man. I'm so lost today. That's really strange. Okay, these are these things. Git full log for head, only the current directory. And now I'm seeing what I want to see. We changed attributes. Of course, we changed the metadata and the test setup. Then there was the new MySQL de-exporter recipe with a new template and the related tests and probably a small fix for the node exporter spec file. That's what I wanted to see. So the commit does look proper. And that means now I can run my test in here. The push should have done its thing, but the tests need to run. We're testing version 0.8.0. No style complaints. Okay, I feel like I'm getting back on track. Only took me 2 hours. Praise be coffee. If any one of you clipped any of my many moments of utter confusion during the stream, I will hunt you down. Ooh. Pulled the cushion off my errand chair. And it's much cooler now. Black gold, yeah. Pretty much. Man, picking a single digit wrong in your branch name can throw you off completely. Now that I'm getting back on track mentally again, I'd like to ask myself what can I learn from this debacle? And I think maybe it's a good idea to have a dev log where you write down stuff that you did and where you finished off. All these issues are one thing, and I still believe that they are a good thing, but they are more code related, and maybe actually writing down where I ended up, and so I can simply pick my dev journal and see, oh yeah, okay, I almost got that done, and that was issue 903. And when I pick it back up, I can realize, oh, there is no branch 903, but there is a new branch 904 or 902, and that would have probably got me on the trace of this issue, of this confusion much earlier. Exactly, Moo, the good old lab journal. Because this web of issues, that is going to tell us what we need to do and what is waiting on what. That's nice and dandy. But being able to actually trace back to where I was 4 days ago, and that there should be a branch 903 something if I did work on this issue, but there isn't, that would have immediately raised a red flag. Yeah, Bethesda, that's a habit I keep trying to establish and has sucked yet. When I do use it, though, it's so great. Yeah, I just realized this too. It would have been great to have one. And I guess the best time to start a dev journal would have been at the beginning of our career. And the next best time is today. So that's exactly what I'm going to do today. Once I wrap things up, I'll simply write down where I ended up, what is going to be the next action, and it'll help a lot. See? Cost me 2 hours to learn this, but it's definitely going to be useful, and it's probably going to save me a lot more time than those two hours in the future. I will consider this a net win. Yeah, Mood, our central documentation, I don't think that's a great place for that, because it's quite ephemeral, that kind of log. And I don't think I'd be interested in reading someone else's log with all the minutiae that where they ended up and what they are going to do and stuff like that. Reading the rough progress on Zulip is something that I'm definitely interested in, but this kind of a lab journal or more of a work progression journal, however you would call it, that's something that I'd probably keep to myself and for myself. If you're not familiar with Zulip, by the way, that's the chat system we're using at my company. It's a great open source based chat system, and we switched from Slack to Zulip, and as Marie Kondo says, it does spark joy, because it's much more geared towards asynchronous communication than these pure chat systems like Discord and Slack or Microsoft Teams. It's like a forum. It's like Discourse and Slack had a baby. That's probably the best description for Zulip. And yes, Obsidian is our operations documentation, our operations wiki, for which we use Obsidian to maintain it. Everything is green, that's nice. No, my love, what web UI are you referring to? I think I'm missing the context. Oh, I don't. No. There's also a nice command line client for GitLab called glab. And I'm going to use that in a minute when the last test here has actually finished successfully. Then I'm going to use glab to submit my merge request, because I'd like to verify what I claimed earlier, that it's not going to add a mention of the issue, because I think I did it injustice by claiming that. I think the actual issue, or the actual root cause for my confusion was using the wrong issue number in my branch name. Of course, sometimes the UI is easier. If you need to quickly navigate stuff with the mouse, that's going to be a little bit easier. On the other hand, that might actually mean that I need to up my terminal foo and maybe add a few more Git aliases or stuff like that. Maybe there's always an alternative in terms of using the terminal. Of course, if you deal with something that's not directly the code, for example issues, then the UI will be a little bit more convenient than using the glab command line tool. Okay, so this test did run through successfully. All the test VMs have already been cleaned up again, and that means I just need to amend my latest change with the works folder lock that got updated apparently. And I could either click this link, and well, I can do actually click this link, so I don't have to submit this form, but as you can see, GitLab automatically realizes, okay, this branch name started with 903, so it assumes that this change will actually close issue 903, which is correct. But what happens if I use the GitLab mr command? So I'll close this form without submitting it, and I'll say continue in browser. And yeah, I did do it in justice. It does do the exactly same thing here. Actually, that's the original merge request from earlier. It should have the commit message in here, actually, which is strange. Let's see. No open merge requests. Me confused again. Ah, it didn't get submitted. If I do submit it... Now, what is add metadata, actually? Okay, so I can add stuff to the merge request here. That's nice. Use arrows to move, space to select, right to all, left to none, type to filter, and I assume enter to continue. Okay. So you know what? I'm not going to submit this merge request right away. What I'm going to do is rewrite the commit again. Maybe that's something that I should get used to. And that is adding the reference to the issue number manually myself. Have a good evening yourself, Moo. Have fun. Let's talk soon. So, instead of relying on the glab command, I'll simply extend my git commit. So let's do another grb-i master. And I'll rewrite this commit message. And at least we'll add the closest number 903 here. Maybe I can make this a habit. Again, I did actually train myself losing this habit because GitLab did do it for myself. But yeah, now I need to do a force push, which is not yet a problem. Rewriting history is okay until you submit a merge request. And if I do this now, even if the merge request command itself does not add the closest 903, it's now in the commit message that this command is going to use. So I'll submit the merge request right away without even using the web UI. And as you can see, it creates the merge request number 840. I guess I can use mr show. I've never used that actually, but let's try. Yep. And yeah, that's just the commit message, including the closest 903. So the merge request command itself didn't add another closest 903. It's a good idea to actually add that in the commit message for more than one reason, I would assume. So having that in your Git history is always a good thing. So you can actually easily identify which commit did resolve a certain issue. So that's fine. And I can still go ahead and view it in the web UI. I accidentally added changes from MySQL Freestyle in here. And that should never have crept in. I did not check closely enough. So there was a previous change that should not have crept into 903. But that's because I created 903 from the branch 902 where these changes were preserved. That's annoying again. I'm really getting punished for my sins here. How am I going to deal with that? I guess I try to deal with this in a way that is exemplary, because that's the main thing why I'm doing this on stream. I mean, I could do my work in the quiet of my home office here without anyone watching over my shoulder and seeing me stumble. And but I want to actually show everyone how the sausage is made, and so now I need to get myself out of this bind. The first thing that I'll do is I'll simply admit unfortunately unrelated changes crept into this MR that weren't supposed to be in it. Fixing this now. So everyone on the team who starts to review this merge request will actually see why is there a change in a completely unrelated cookbook. And this comment simply clears up that, yeah, I realized that myself, and I'm in the process of cleaning things up. Exactly, Balthazar. The struggles of distributed code development. I mean, every one of us screws up eventually, and I think it's a good idea to practice fixing things and showing how communication and distributed collaboration can still work, even though there will always be the human factor. And that, I guess, might actually distinguish the more senior engineer from a junior engineer, knowing how to deal with these situations. And how does the senior engineer deal with these things? With more coffee. No, I'm actually out of coffee now, so I'm going to switch to my water bottle. But I'll keep it closed for now because seeing how this day has gone so far, I'll probably spill it all over my desk and my laptop. Well, how do we deal with this? We have changes that we intended to have in here. That's all under Prometheus Freestyle. But the MySQL changes here were the start of issue number 902. And those were never intended to be in here. We need to remove these and basically revert them back to the state they are in master. And if we push that change, they will disappear from the diff, I would say. So let's do exactly that. We'll do a git checkout. Master. MySQL Freestyle. Dan Camo, long time no see. Well, it might seem like a long time, but it's not. Good to have you back. Welcome to the stack. So, that's the state of these three files exactly that we didn't want in here in the first place. So let me actually switch directory in a new tmux branch so I can close this shell after I'm done, and there will be no trace or no window that confuses me. No doing stuff in the wrong directory anymore. And Praxeus joining us as well. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. How's life? Balthazar and Praxeus, I'll be in touch shortly about the server room. It's already on my to-do list for today. So that. Those are again modified, and I think, yeah, I'll make this a commit. This commit will eventually disappear because compared to master, it entails no change. But in terms of this merge request, I will submit this as a different, as a separate commit. Why? Now, as I mentioned earlier, I said do not rewrite Git history if other people have access to your branch. And by submitting a merge request, if someone on my team is very, very eager, they might already have checked out branch 903 here. And if I were to go and actually make this change, then rebase everything, so make these changes disappear completely from Git history as if they were never in the first place, and then I do a force push to clean up my merge request, the person that has already checked out this branch will not be able to do a git pull anymore. If they try to do a git pull, Git will tell them, well, either you or the upstream branch changed something, and So the best way to deal with that would probably be to delete their local branch and then pull the branch again in its new state, and that's just a hassle. I really don't like that, and I don't want to punish my teammates for checking out my changes early on. And so I'm going to actually commit this as a proper commit, where I say chore MySQL Freestyle in this revert accidental changes. These files or changes, or the changes, this commit is reverting, should never have been part of the branch and merge request in the first place. Apologies. Pushing this. How does this look in GitLab now? Now I'm curious myself. This looks much better. Okay. Proxeo says, personal life, things are going well, doing all right. How is it going for y'all? I'm having a bit of a hard time at the moment. I got very confused because last week I was a little bit, how would you call it? I might have been confused, or I was too quick with wrapping up the stream, and I did not leave stuff in a very good way for future me picking this up today. So I got really confused, and it took me almost 2 hours today on the stream to work my way out of things. Actually, I'm only now at a point where I can actually start the work that I was intending to do today. So it took me more than 2 hours. 2 hours and 8 minutes. But other than that, I seem to have fixed things now properly, and that means we can actually release this change. Let me make sure everything is as it's supposed to be. We added the address. We are listening only on localhost 9104, and instead we are establishing a proxy that is public on 19104, and everything else sets up that proxy with an Nginx proxy resource and this template here. Everything else is just side effects, and we are pulling in Prometheus X120. We are releasing this cookbook as 080, for which we also have a changelog entry. Yes, this looks good. I actually can merge this with a good conscience. We can actually delete the source branch afterwards. So this will trigger a short CI pipeline that will take this new cookbook and deploy it to our chef server. And then I'm ready to actually use this new version of the cookbook as the foundation of my next step and change. Whew! 2 hours gone irretrievably. Oh, let's not think about it. Let's not think about it. This should be quite quick, because all it does is upload the new cookbook version to our chef server. And since this has already been merged, we can actually go and close this fourth window. When I work on cookbooks, I usually have 3 Tmux windows open. My editor window, the central terminal where the shell is in my root directory of the repository, and the third window where I'm in the actual cookbook that I'm working on at the moment. So this has been released. 0.80 is now available for everyone to use. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use it. And that means I can actually close this. We're not going to work on this cookbook for the time being. I'll check out the master branch. I'm going to do a smart pull, which is going to end up as a normal pull, which means I can do I can delete my 903 branch without Git having any issues because it's already part of master now. And now let's close this. We don't need that. Let's see. That's the umbrella issue. Implement basic MySQL health check. For that, I need the setup of a Prometheus exporter. The installation is finished. Next thing is deploy MySQL exporter to the actual database servers. Now that everything is in place, we can do that. That's going to be 902. 903 is now closed. Yep, so we'll close that tab too. Here's 902. And so we can actually close this overview too. Let's lighten our cognitive load here. Now, there is already a branch 902. And we'll actually rebase these changes on the current master branch. And there's a conflict. Interesting. Let's see where. Prometheus FrySteel. Okay. So these were the changes that ended up in this branch accidentally. Am I going to fix them the usual way? I could also go ahead and simply cherry pick the changes that I already made, if there are any to be... if there are any that are worth speaking of in the first place. So that's going to be another cleanup job there. Let me see. Wow, okay, so almost the whole recipe here is the merge conflict. Yeah, it is the whole recipe. Ah, that's because both sides added this. So it shouldn't actually be a difference. Can I add a merge preference to my rebase? Let's see. What about the attributes? That should actually also be pretty similar. Yeah, it's identical, I guess. You know what? I'll make sure I get what I have actually merged by doing a git checkout master for source Prometheus FrySteel. And now I'm going to do a git rebase continue. And again, simply use the master one. Let's continue. And so if I go into the MySQL freestyle where I wanted to be all along, where we now have to add Prometheus monitoring, and I do git ls dash, we have a little bit of work in progress changes in here. Let me see what that actually is. We bumped the version. We added a changelog entry for this version. We tried to pull in Prometheus freestyle 0.8, which wasn't released yet at the time, and that looks good. So since Git is telling me that there have been changes on both sides of the fence, I'm going to make sure 902 now looks like it's supposed to be by doing a force push. Prex says no worries. Thanks for stopping by anyway, even if it was just a short stint. Always good to talk to you. Okay, now hopefully that was the last cleanup we had to do. Let's close everything. Let's actually also close all the buffers. And now we are where we wanted to be. 930, which adds the monitoring with Prometheus. At least it tries to. We added the Prometheus freestyle 0.8, but we don't use the cookbook yet in our recipes, in any of these recipes, which is going to be the next step. But now I'll pick up where I left off, which was I wanted to actually try and run one of the test instances, and that didn't work because the cookbook we were depending on didn't yet exist in that version. So now we should be able to run server. No, actually it's going to be client Ubuntu 24.04 because we're talking about a MySQL database. That's going to be a client. No, that's not going to be a client. Let's not be stupid. I'm confusing now. It's going to be a client in terms of from the perspective of the Prometheus server, but not a client in terms of MySQL. That's only testing the actual MySQL client setup. That's none of my concern at the moment. So let's do the server test suite instead. Yeah, let's destroy that because although it was already destroyed, now I'm going to converge it, which will take a little bit because not only does it have to spin up the VM for this whole thing, but it's also going to set up MySQL and everything. And that's going to take a minute. We'll leave it running in the background. Tmux is a great way to deal with these things. And let's actually take a look at the existing recipes and let's decide where we will actually pull in the Prometheus MySQLD exporter, which will deliver all the metrics to our Prometheus server, so we can actually define alerts based on these metrics. So here in the _monitoring RB recipe, we set up a MySQL user called monitoring. And we grant the necessary, and in the case of super, maybe unnecessary permissions that this monitoring user is going to use. I think these permissions are based on what netdata needed to have in terms of permissions. Yeah, netdata does collect a lot of very detailed metrics. So that might actually warrant having super access to the database. That's probably the reason why this monitoring user has super permissions in the first place. Recipes that are starting with an underscore, by the way, signify that these are internal recipes. They are not, they are basically not part of the public API of this cookbook. They are not supposed to be called from outside of this cookbook. Only the cookbook itself is going to use these recipes. And to be honest, I think this cookbook is missing a monitoring without the underscore recipe, because we have a recipe that sets up backup, we have a recipe that sets up the MySQL client, we have a recipe that sets up a firewall, we have a recipe that installs the Percona toolkit, which makes administering databases a lot easier. We have a recipe that sets up the creation of process lists, which is also a nice trick to get a little bit more insight into what your database is doing, especially if it's running very long-lasting queries. All we do in this recipe is set up a cron job that every minute takes the current process list, which is the list of running queries, and writes them to a file. So we end up with a lot of text files that contain the snapshot of the process list of every minute, and by comparing these process lists you can actually see if there are queries that are lasting far longer than a minute, which basically in an OLTP system should never exist. There shouldn't be any queries taking longer than, say, 2 seconds. Otherwise, either these queries are terribly inefficient, or you're not dealing with an OLTP scenario in the first place. You are doing something like BI, and our databases are used in a managed hosting scenario for Drupal and WordPress, and neither of these systems are BI systems. So by writing out process lists, it's quite easy for us to identify if there are any queries over which we should actually get in touch with the customer. Yeah, and while we have this unofficial monitoring recipe and the net data recipe, which is also unofficial or private, there is no monitoring recipe that is explicitly taking care of monitoring, which is interesting. It's probably, maybe it's a little bit of overkill, because what the server recipe does is, well, it does nothing itself. It uses the server recipe of the MySQLX cookbook, which again is a fundamental cookbook that takes care of setting up a MySQL server in a very generic way. And then it runs its own recipes, starting with the private ones here, and then it runs the backup, Percona toolkit, and process list recipes. It does not apparently run the firewall recipes. We seem to be only applying that in specific reasons. And interestingly enough, we don't actually set up Nagios nor Sensu from here. The only thing we do is in the unofficial or in the private net data recipe, we do actually include the default recipe from the net data Freistyle cookbook. So here we do actually set up a monitoring service. Okay, I think that's exactly what we need here as well. So apparently, the only conclusion I can draw from how this cookbook looks at the moment, we've found another way to add Sensu and or Nagios to the mix, but that happens outside of this cookbook. which is fair. It does work apparently, because we are monitoring our databases. But not having that in here explicitly is actually not great. At least that's my current perspective on things. Because, well, if we say all our databases should be monitored, then this cookbook should actually implement that. But this cookbook only sets up a monitoring user, which is the basis of everything, but there is no actual monitoring system getting configured here. And so now I would have to investigate where else we bring in the Sensu cookbook or the Nagios cookbook. And yeah, that shouldn't be necessary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this monitoring, this private monitoring recipe. Every chef cookbook contains an arbitrary number of recipes. They did take this kitchen analogy very far, probably too far. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing that we did on the net data side. I'll actually include the Prometheus Freestyle MySQL exporter recipe here. We did already declare our dependency on this cookbook in metadata.rb here. So here we are actually declaring, yeah, this cookbook depends on the Prometheus Freestyle cookbook, but that doesn't mean that any of its recipes will ever be executed in this context. That needs to be done explicitly, and here we are doing that actually. So that means this test VM that has been set up correctly will now get upgraded with the Prometheus MySQL exporter. This VM is still running. As you can see, if I list my current test VMs, you can see that server Ubuntu 20.04 has been converged, which means it's up, and Chef has been run on there successfully. So, for example, if I do a verify server Ubuntu 20.04, which is the exact test VM that we're talking about, this should still return a fully successful test, and it does. And if I converge this again now, Chef will only take care of the changes, and the only change that I made was including the MySQL exporter recipe, and that means it will install the MySQL exporter. And if I enter this test VM, there should now be a MySQL exporter process, but there isn't. Let's check the status of that. It's not surprising because we are still missing one piece at least. Ah, could not be found. Why is that? I think it looks like this convert run did not change a single thing. Otherwise, we would see something of a diff or something. So, this is quite surprising. Didn't I save this recipe? Let's see, the server recipe does run the monitoring recipe, yeah. So this should actually execute. Maybe I failed to save it. Let's see. No change again. That is very strange. The mystery of what am I even doing continues. Redux Saga, welcome to the stack, asking how to become a pro in DevOps. I'm learning Docker and already deployed it on DigitalOcean. Well, that's great first step. It's probably not even your first step.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Hex Melvi, welcome to the stack. Thanks for following. The question how to become a pro in DevOps is basically continuing the path that you're already on. If you're picking up Docker, that's definitely going to be a tool that you will be dealing with a lot. But there's, of course, a lot more to DevOps.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Thank you for the follow as well. I really appreciate it. We did talk about this on our stream on Thursday last week, I think, or no, during the office hour on Friday. DevOps is a term that has been diluted quite a bit, and it's hard to pin down what the actual meaning is. If you want to get better at basically the intersection between development and operations, which has been the origin of the DevOps term, you will have to actually be able to take the perspective of a software developer as well as that of a system administrator or operations person, and that's actually where Hex Malvi's question, what does SRE mean, play into that as well. SRE is the abbreviation for Site Reliability Engineer, which is basically a software engineer that takes care of operations issues. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm doing coding, but I'm not developing an application. I code infrastructure or automation. In this case, I'm writing code that adds monitoring to my company's database service. And this is supposed to be fully automatic, and that's why I'm writing code for that. It's called infrastructure as code. And so I would actually say this is an example of site reliability engineering, because I'm going to make the reliability of our services better by adding a more modern monitoring system to our servers, which will then, of course, be used by operations people to tell if the databases are healthy or not, and if they are not, what the actual root cause is. And so that's what site reliability engineering deals with, basically. It's applying software engineering principles to operations. And at the moment, I'm wondering why this line does not seem to get executed. Because there is no indication at all that Prometheus X MySQL D exporter does get executed in the first place. Here we're running the _ monitoring cookbook. The monitoring user gets created. The Lumen, thanks for taking care of myself. I'm actually running dry. Thank you. I appreciate the reminder. What would I do if I didn't have you, the Lumen? Ah, so good. Thank you. Okay, so the monitoring user does get created, and then it goes right ahead and goes into the _net data cookbook. I did change _monitoring. That's the added line here. But I don't even get an error message. I might have, yeah.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Data Dev, thank you for the follow. That's very kind of you. I hope you get to learn something from my continuous failure to make progress here. Today is a cursed stream. I have no idea what's even happening. I've added this line, and Git does actually agree, yes, you've added these 2 lines. But they don't get executed. How's that even possible? I am in the MySQL freestyle directory. Oh, I'm getting tense. I just felt like there's a headache coming up, and that's simply because my shoulders are getting tense from all the doubt that's accumulating. Talking about imposter syndrome, what am I even doing here? Okay, I must be missing something. Let's take another look at the existing and working net data cookbook. We set up the net data user, and net data apparently does not need the super permission after all. And we run the command that creates this user, and then we do an include recipe of the netdata freestyle cookbook and its default recipe. So far so good. Now I'm trying to do the same thing here. We create a password if there isn't any assigned yet. Then we create the monitoring user with this password. Execute the command. And here we include the recipe Prometheus freestyle MySQLD exporter. Let's take a look if this recipe does exist. So where is Prometheus freestyle? Yep, there is the MySQLD exporter recipe. So it does exist. I mean, if it wouldn't exist, if it didn't exist, it would tell us. It would fail the include. But why? Why doesn't it actually get executed? There is no installation of the MySQLD exporter. What is it supposed to do? What is going to happen if we call this recipe? Yeah, there's a lot of that's going to happen. We again include another recipe that does the basic installation, and then we do the Nginx proxy that needs to run in front of the MySQLD exporter. So that's actually a lot of stuff that's going to happen and should happen, but doesn't. So now I'm adding an error here, simply to see if this is even in the code path. And if it's not, I will return to my previous confused state. Okay, that's actually a relief. It does not like the foo in here. Okay, fair enough. So you do execute that stuff, right? do not understand. The only reason it could behave like this is if the cookbook that it pulls from our chef server has an empty Prometheus recipe, an empty MySQL exporter recipe, and so, of course, an empty recipe won't trigger any output here. So maybe something went completely wrong when we uploaded the Prometheus cookbook? That's really strange. Redux Saga asks, do you have recommended Docker tutorials? I actually don't. I mean, there are lots of tutorials on the web, and I think even the ones that are on the actual Docker website are pretty decent. Is there something specific you're looking for? Okay, I'm running now up on 3 hours and I can feel it in my head. I might actually not try and drive this any further because, yeah, today is a little bit cursed. But on the other hand, I'd really want to find out how things are going wrong here. I can see that they are going wrong and I would really learn why. So I'm going to stick at it for a little bit longer. Again, take a deep breath. Oh, my neck is cracking. I might use some DevOps affirmations myself at the moment. Now, can I... Let's take a look at the bergsfile.log. That should have the Prometheus FrySteel cookbook at 080. That's great. And it has Prometheus X at 120. That's also correct. Everything looks good, and it still doesn't work. What am I missing? Let me try and break this. Okay, it does break. It says, yeah, could not find recipe. So, if it actually executes the MySQL exporter recipe, but does not do anything, that must mean in this recipe is something that prevents things from happening. Redux says, DevOps is so hard. If I understand you correctly, you mean in development you at least get specific errors. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is exemplary of usual DevOps or SRE stuff. This might just be an off day for me. Because usually I do get errors and I am able to pinpoint them. But today's whole session went off the track very quickly, and this might actually be due to my own failings by maybe breaking something and submitting broken code or something like that. So don't be too discouraged. On the other hand, I mean, sometimes in software development you run into these issues as well, where you say, okay, I'm calling this function, I'm calling this procedure, I'm calling this method, and it still doesn't do what it's supposed to do. It looks like nothing happens at all, even though the method definitely is supposed to do something. So sometimes you have to pull out the debugger and set breakpoints and step through separate commands or go through it statement by statement. I definitely had these times with the pure software or application development myself. That can happen in all kinds of development, rather independent if it's application development or infrastructure as code. It's just today it's much more flummoxing than I'm used to. Now, let's consider for a moment that this recipe actually gets called and it doesn't do anything. So can there be a reason it doesn't do anything? Let's take a look at Prometheus FreeStyle, MySQLD exporter. So it starts up. Oh, fuck. It starts up by querying the chef server if there is a Prometheus server. Because what this Nginx proxy is supposed to do is only allow the Prometheus server to access the MySQLD exporter. If it can't find any Prometheus server, it logs a warning and does a return. And return does not cause any fatal error. We don't even log a fatal error, we log a warning. And then it'll simply exit executing this recipe right at this point. And if we take a closer look at the log, just at a different location, namely right at the start of our chef run, when it starts to try and find the Prometheus server. Oops. Marking stuff now exits immediately, so I keep the mouse clicked. It says no Prometheus server found, skipping node exporter setup. The message is actually wrong, that's a copy and paste error. It should say skipping MySQLD exporter setup, but nonetheless, that's exactly what's happening here. Okay. Now we know why calling this recipe doesn't do anything, because of course, by default in our test setting, we don't have any Prometheus server in the mix. See? Redux Saga, there's always a reason. You just need to find it. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'll have to decide if I'm going to keep doing this a little bit longer on this stream, and I'm only going to do that if setting up this Prometheus server that we need to have, at least in our testing scenario here, if how much effort this is going to take. If it's going to be a lot of effort, then I'll say I'll call it a day, and I'll pick up on this tomorrow. Only if this is easy to fix, I'm going to try and make a little bit more progress. Okay. Well, the question is, how did we deal with this issue in the Prometheus Freistil cookbook, where we did actually set this up and make it work. And that might simply be because in its test suite, here with the client, well, we're setting up the node exporter and the MySQL exporter, and this actually works without using the Prometheus recipe that gets used in the server test suite up here. So there is actually not a Prometheus server getting set up, but that doesn't mean that Chef doesn't think that there is one, because in our test integration directory, there's no nodes set up either. Interesting. Now, is that because we're taking stuff from the underlying Prometheus X cookbook? That can't be true, can it? Here we have a node, but that's a non-existing exporter, actually. Getting more confused now. Both of these recipes do work. They get tested. We're testing if the node exporter and the MySQL exporter is running and can be reached. But that's because we have this test cookbook here. Am I right? No? Okay, so this is another strange effect. The point where you really don't understand how this is actually working. It's literally impossible that it can work. And still it does. In a way. Okay. Wait. Prometheus X itself doesn't deal with any yeah, we shouldn't. We don't have to look at this foundational cookbook at all, because it doesn't deal with any proxies and stuff like that. Proxies are introduced by the Prometheus Freistil cookbook, where we introduced them for the node exporter and for the MySQL exporter. The node exporter. Let me take a look at that. Does a query. And if it doesn't find a Prometheus server, it skips the node exporter setup. MySQL DE exporter does the same thing with a warning message that I should have updated instead of just copied and pasted. What? The test does is I've tricked myself. I've tricked myself. These tests only test conditions that will work without any of the recipes being actually executed. And they aren't. The node exporter recipe bails out at this point. It can't find any Prometheus server. And so does the MySQL exporter recipe. Both end early. But since we are setting specific attributes when the cookbook, before the cookbook even gets executed, we set the preconditions that the few things that our tests are actually picking up on do work, because they all are taken care of by the underlying Prometheus X cookbook. So I'm not testing any functionality that gets added by these recipes. And by not testing them, I never realized that, at least in our test suite, those recipes do not get executed. Well, they do, but they end early and don't do anything, actually. So that's a typical case of be careful how you write your tests and which tests you actually write. None of these 3 test conditions here actually have to do with what these recipes are supposed to do. Otherwise, they would definitely fail, because the interesting part down here with the proxy does not get run in the first place. That's at least a good learning. And let's verify that, actually. And then I'll have to probably file a few bug issues. And get out the cat o' nine tails and punish myself for the way I've written these tests. I did actually not only fool anyone else who thought, yeah, these tests are great, I did actually fool myself. Well, this has been a day of a lot of learning. The Lumen suggesting a song at this point in the stream? Let's take a look. I'm curious enough, and hey, this stream has been cursed. Anyway, let me be at least practice a little bit of caution by trying this off screen first. Sabaton, okay. I'll listen to that later. This sounds like fun. This sounds like fun, but I'm not going to get my stream copyright a copyright penalty by playing it on stream. I don't think it's that terrible. The lyrics are a little bit forced, but I guess that is part of the whole thing. Okay, so we will switch to the cookbook that should not be our focus. Wait, where am I? Should not be here. Let's see. Prometheus Freestyle. Now, let me see. There should be, say, the client Ubuntu 2004. Let's converge that. Shouldn't take long. Oh, that's conflicting with the other client Ubuntu 2004 that's already running here, I guess. Is it? Even though that's a server Ubuntu? Maybe. Let's clean things up. Can I run it now? Nope. Name client of domain about to create is already taken. The universe has it out for me today. What is this now? I can list them. I can destroy them. But I can't spin them up. So Vagrant is confused now too. Please try to run Vagrant up command again. Don't think that'll help. Nope. Fail to complete create action, expected process to exit. Are we out of memory or something? No. What's happening? It says client Ubuntu of domain about to create is already taken. That name is already taken. Can I run Vagrant from here? Vagrant list? Or Vagrant... what? There's not really a list command, is there? The test kitchen abstracts away how Vagrant needs to be called to spin up these test VMs. Domain already, or the name of this domain already taken. How strange. If I were to run the client Ubuntu 2004 recipe from this cookbook, it does actually work. Well, that is interesting. So is Vagrant somehow bound to the cookbook context? That's something that I've never seen before. But we can test that, of course. Let's run test kitchen destroy on all test suites for this cookbook. That should clean things up. And now we'll switch from the MySQL Freestyle cookbook to the Prometheus Freestyle cookbook. And we'll destroy the client Ubuntu And we'll try and converge it again. Ha! Okay. So spinning up a single test instance for a specific cookbook somehow blocks the names of all the existing test suites, and you can't run another test suite of a different cookbook but with the identical test suite name. Which does make sense. It avoids conflicts. But I've never seen that before. That's it's actually a little bit surprising, but sounds pretty useful. Okay, so now we are actually spinning up the client test suite, which is supposed to run both the node exporter recipe and the MySQLD exporter recipe. Both are going to come up. Both will be bound to localhost thanks to the node attributes that we've set. Both these conditions get set up in another cookbook. That's only a dependency of this one. And this one is actually supposed to set up Nginx proxies in front of these two exporters. And I'm sure that we'll see that those Nginx proxies don't get set up. Because I should be able to already see at the beginning of this converge run that there's no Prometheus server. Right? Somewhere in here? Otherwise, I would be again pretty surprised. I am pretty surprised for the umpteenth time today. I hope you're all laughing your asses off. It does set up the proxy. Why? Why? I already got wary when I did realize that at the beginning of this chef run there is no warning about the missing Prometheus server and about code being skipped far up here when the whole run starts. There are two warnings about something, but my warnings weren't there. And down here, Nginx actually is getting set up. And so the tests are successful, even though we are only talking to localhost. So I'm right in that. Nope. Yeah, I'm right in that the only test that would talk to the... nope, that would talk to the MySQLD exporter directly. So we're not talking to our proxies at all. And I thought that would be the reason why I didn't notice that the proxies don't get set up. But they actually are getting set up. So, while this is very confusing again, there must be an answer in there why they do get set up, and why, and that will lead me to the solution of getting my test set up for the MySQL stuff done too. Let's see, sites enabled. Yeah, there they are. And let's see, node exporter, which should have an underscore, by the way. We are allowing 127.0.0.11 through, which is our fake Prometheus server, our alleged Prometheus server. Where does this information come from? Ripgrab should help us here. I missed that. There is a nodes directory. And I did expect it to be between these three under integration. That would make it the information in there global, but it can be also local to a specific test suite. Here we have a nodes directory, and that's basically fake nodes that exist for testing purposes, but that don't actually exist. But what they do is we have a prometheus.json file here, and that basically tells our fake test chef server, yeah, there's a machine that is a Prometheus server. It has this IP address, it has this host name, and it actually runs these recipes here: Prometheus fry steel Prometheus. And that's exactly what we are looking for. So that is the effort that we need to take to create a fake Prometheus server, by simply adding its metadata to our testing chef server that gets created automatically when we run our test suites. And that makes Chef believe that there is a Chef server, and that makes this recipe believe, yeah, there is a Prometheus server that I can actually query from the Chef server, and for this Prometheus server I will be able to set up the exporters, or the proxies in front of these exporters. Oh dear. Okay. That means by copying Prometheus fry steel test integration client nodes to test integration, what are we executing here? Client. To the client subdirectory here. Yeah, we need an -r. Oh, wait. Here. Okay. Lifting one mystery after another. Now we have this nodes directory here where we have our fake Prometheus server, and that will actually allow us to run our test successfully. So let's destroy the test instances of the other cookbook. We can close this, and we can actually, yeah, this pane can be killed. Odaflock, thank you for the follow. People are still following me despite all this failure upon failure today. And it's my actually Streamaversary. In 2018, on this day, I got my affiliate status on Twitch, which means that I have been doing this crap for many years now. And I'm still able to fail badly. Yep, my wife calling me, probably to ask, are you still not finished? Yeah, I think I need to wrap things up, but let's at least take this to a point where I can be a little bit happy with leaving things there. Which means I'd like to see the client test suite at least setting up the MySQL exporter. It will still not be able to pick up metrics from the MySQL server. And yeah, the client here is of course also the wrong test suite. We need to run the server test suite where the monitoring has to take place. We're talking about the MySQL server after all. Not TKD, let's TKC this. Oh dear. Is there a client test suite still? No. Okay. At least seeing the MySQL D exporter getting installed now should be enough for me to at least do a work in progress commit here. Man, I should have been here 2.5 hours ago. But hey, should does never work, does it? There is no hope for a better past, is what I keep saying. Can only try to learn from it. I got stumped a lot today during this stream. At least I was able to find the root cause each and every time, even though it was really exhausting. But some days are like that. It is what it is. Here it's setting up MySQL itself. So setting up the monitoring will follow a little bit after that. So the only thing that's going to be missing is actually granting the MySQL D exporter access to MySQL. And we are already halfway there because we are already setting up the necessary MySQL user for the existing monitoring systems, for our legacy monitoring systems. So the final step that's missing is going to be write these credentials to a file that the MySQL D exporter can read. So we're not far off finishing this issue. But it took us far too long to get here. Dan Kimo asks, are you going to stream tomorrow? I'm actually not sure. Let me take a look at my calendar. Usually I don't have any streams scheduled on Wednesdays. But I did reserve the whole afternoon for coding anyway. So I think I might simply turn that into an impromptu live stream. I can't promise doing a stream, but it's likely. At the same time as usual, 2 p.m. UTC. If not, there will definitely be a stream on Thursday at the same time. Bethesda says, sounds like fun to me. You mean doing an impromptu stream tomorrow? Would that make you happy? Well, I do love to make you happy, so I think there might be an unscheduled stream tomorrow. And then another on Thursday. And then another on Friday. Even if you're mostly body doubling, come on. If someone's cosplaying a DevOps person here, that's me. Feels like it anyway. Now, I'd like to see this recipe finish, or this cookbook, or this test suite actually. That's the right term. Test suite finish with a MySQL D exporter getting set up and simply complaining that it can't get through to a MySQL database because it's missing the permissions, the credentials. Then Chemo gives a thumbs up. Yeah, okay. I do love to please. So let me pull out my calendar again. And let's... Oh, actually, you know what? I can simply turn this into live coding. Move it to the monospace calendar. Here we go. 4 streams in a row this week. Let's see what's going to come of this. Yeah, one of the things where doing infrastructure coding is different from application coding is that the test suites tend to run much longer, take much longer because of, say here, package installations. If you have a machine that requires a lot of packages, those often need to be downloaded, and even if you are using kind of a cache that stores packages that you needed locally, installing them in your VM still will take quite a bit of time because of all the file operations that need to be run through. And so a more elaborate test setup will take quite a long time to actually finish testing. It takes a little bit more patience. But we have switched to net data in our setup here, which means the MySQL part seems to be set up. And it shouldn't take for much longer. Yep, here we go. Now, will we take a look at the server instance? Let's see. Is there any exporter running? No. Sad panda. Something went wrong after all. I hate it. System control, grab exporter. No exporter at all. Why? Let me log out again. Let's run another converge run. That will not change anything because why would it? It has already run. But it'll get me the warning messages at the beginning much quicker. Let's spin up a second terminal here to go inside. Now, as you can see, all these steps that needed to be done get skipped here because they are already up to date. So there is not much command output in here. And that means let's go right to the start. And here it says no Prometheus server found after all. And yes, of course, that's the case because I copied the fake Prometheus server metadata to the client test suite, which I'm not even executing here. That's going to be easy to fix. Oh dear, what a day. Test integration client nodes. That's going to go into test integration server. That's that. If I run TKC again, now there's suddenly a Prometheus node. Look at that. Let's see. Now, permission denied. Oh, okay, that's... Oh, shit. Now it's going to... Yeah, I think that's because it tries to do something very fundamental to Chef, which is inserting these... injecting these fake nodes, but there's already a Chef server running and something like that. I'll try and destroy the server. Instance, which means I need to kill this pane because this shell is now dead. And let's run the server setup again. Yeah, I guess adding nodes, fake nodes, is something that's so fundamental that you can't reuse an existing, still running test VM. That needs to happen when the VM starts, even maybe before Chef gets installed and run. And Bethesda says, I think one of the things I really appreciate about Chef is that testing is a first-class citizen. Yeah, and it's very much necessary, at least if you are doing something that's a little bit more than trivial. I did not appreciate how important tests are until a few years in of using Chef, actually. But the more extensive our infrastructure code became, the more queasy we got rolling out changes to our production environment. Because any change could cause any kind of issues. And then we started introducing more tests and finding regressions when testing, and I can't tell you how much more or what a change this did to our confidence of rolling out stuff in production. Nowadays, I'm often even happy to roll out changes to production on a Friday afternoon, because I can rely on our test suite to tell me if something's wrong. And that simply wasn't the case before we made an effort of writing tests. Of course, at the beginning, these tests didn't cover nearly enough space to really give us confidence. And so we kept running into bugs and issues, but we made it a rule that fixing each and every one of these bugs required also adding a test that would test for this particular regression, and that way our test suite got more and more robust. And yeah, that I can tell you, that gives you a lot of peace of mind. Yeah, it does take a little bit of patience running these tests, even on a high-powered workstation like I have one. But hey, I'd rather spend time watching the tests here complete than spend time managing an incident and having to think about how I'll phrase the apology for our customers. After this, if I actually see the exporter running, or let's say after this test has finished, I'm going to wrap things up because I'm really getting worn out now. I did make progress, took me a little bit longer than expected, but now there needs to be a point where I'll eject. Almost done. A few more small installations, but we're already at the tooling phase. Which means that maybe I can already see if the MySQL exporter is actually running, even though Chef is still finishing a few things. Ta-da! And the final piece of the puzzle is going to be exactly this file, which does not yet contain proper credentials to access MySQL, but that's going to be easy to change. And I think that's definitely a good point to wrap things up. Let me see if there's someone we can raid. Finally, Bald Bearded Builder is actually at his place. So yeah, we are going to raid BBB. Now folks, if you'd like to join us for another chat outside of this stream, you can always join us on our Discord server, which is a friendly community of people, including many regulars that are joining us on the stream as well. I'm in the process of building a community platform.
The bombers, get the subs in launch mode. We are at DEFCON 1.
Another hype train incoming with Brookzerker, who's raiding us with 12 viewers. Hey Brookzerker, how you doing? Slipping in just in time at the 11th hour. I was just about to raid BBB myself, but let's first defend the channel against the raiders. Raiders, use the attack command to see if you can breach our defenses. So we will actually pass you on to Bald Bearded Builder right away, because I was about to wrap things up after a more than tumultuous stream. This was quite the experience for myself, and I'll need some rest now. But I decided to do another stream tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. UTC, which is usually not a scheduled time. But I'd like to get this finished, and having a clear time in mind when this is actually going to be wrapped up is actually giving me a little bit of peace of mind as well. So, okay, let's go ahead and raid Bald Bearded Builder. Let's hope that he's not going to leave anytime in the next minute. I was saying I would like to invite everyone to our Discord, so you can join us there. And I'm in the process of actually building a paid membership community for people in the DevOps field, where you'll get a lot of perks, especially a lot of attention by yours truly. So if you're looking for a mentor, for someone with whom you can do one-on-one coaching calls every month and things like that, the server room is going to be a community that's going to be right for you. And you can join the launch list, with which I'm going to inform everyone once the server room is going to open. And with that announcement, you'll get a coupon code that will give you 50% off for the lifetime of your subscription. So that's a great way to save a lot of money. And so I'll invite everyone to take a look at the community page over on monospacementor.com, and feel free to subscribe to the launch list as well. I'm not going to spam you, I'll just inform you once the server room is ready for you to become a member. So, now, let's start the raid. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. And until then, take care.